What's good, everybody? I'm the coach, and welcome into our passion project, our homage to the 90-Day Fiance franchise. We call this 90-Day Our Way. I am the coach. He is the kid. And over the course of the next 30 minutes, we're going to break down 90-Day Happily Ever After, 90-Day The Other Way, and we might throw in a little 90-Day B90 Strikes Back. But there's so many shows to talk about. So, Cody, let's not waste any time. Let's jump right in to the main event.
The 90-Day Our Way main event.
All right, so of course you know where we're starting, Cody. We're starting with Jihoon, the overgrown child in South Korea, and they're so good, the storyline, that they're going to show up twice in our podcast this week. So Deaven flies back for the second time, and she tells him, Jihoon, if you don't get your stuff together this time, I'm out. I'm going back. Not only did he not go look at the apartment she found online, but when they got there, it was the worst hood, and he had a bunch of quotes that we're going to get to too, but his friends are embarrassed for him. He's 29 years old. He still lives at home. And Devin's kind of a catch, I think. She's got 2 kids. She brought a 3-year-old daughter with her. And I was pissed for her. I was at a point where I'm like, he's had months and months and months and months, and he's done nothing. And he has a child. That should motivate him enough. When you look at Jihoon, what do you see?
Well, Coach, 2 things really struck me about Jihoon on this episode. One, at some point, I really thought to myself, did Jihoon gain self-awareness? Does he realize what he's actually doing? And then later on in the episode, as it continued to go on, I really made the realization that the only awareness he is aware of is the camera, because I think he's playing all of this up, the guilt, the self-deprecating things. Where is this in the last year where she asked you to solve all of these things? Absolutely absent. So I am completely out on my ledge on Jihoon, and I'm writing off their relationship right now as we stand on this episode.
Cody, how many times do you think in the last year that Deaven has said to herself, why in the world did I have sex with him the very first night he landed in America? And I keep wondering, how did he get to America? He has no money. He's never had any money. Did he just come on a vacation and all of a sudden she thought he was attractive and they had sex because she got pregnant on the very first night, and now it's going to affect her for the rest of her life? But here's the thing. When you have a child with a man from another country, he basically has no rights. And when that man can't afford to come to America, I agree with you. She's going to go back to Utah, and she's going to raise her 2 kids. He's going to have nothing to do with it. That would tear me apart. I don't understand how it doesn't motivate him. His parents know that he's a joke. Viewers know that he's a joke. And Deaven, I'm still scratching my head that every single episode, she is, I don't want to say dumb, maybe naive enough to believe that he's going to change. And then is there anything worse, Cody, than your future mother-in-law's showing up and then telling you, I thought you were going to be a man. I thought you were going to be able to take care of my daughter and her 2 kids, and you've done nothing. She made Jihoon feel that small. And I agree with you on next week's episode, because they teased it, and she said, I'm leaving when my mom leaves. There is no question in my mind. She's not living in that apartment, and she is gone, and she's not coming back.
Agreed. At one point she said, I'm doing all the heavy lifting. You're doing all the lifting, girl. The medium, the light, the heavy. Get the hell out of there. Next.
He said, I'm going to pay for everything. And when he says it in his broken English, it sounded like, I'm paying for everything. She goes, I paid for everything so far. Literally everything. And he goes, well, I'm going to do it moving forward. She's like, it's too late. So, Jihoon, you're a great storyline on a show, but this is real life, bro. Come on, you got to get better. We're going to bring up Jihoon and Deaven a little bit later on in our Say What segment on the show. Now, our second storyline on the main event. And sometimes I have to move past the fact that she is so hot and she's from Brazil, because I know she's crazy. And Larissa was married to Colt. And I was watching a little bit of Pillow Talk this week, and the 2 crazy women on the couch, they said something that every single viewer is thinking about. Colt, to be polite, is not a catch. He's lumpy. He's overweight. He's possessive. He's all kinds of negatives. And yet he's had a really smoking hot yet crazy Brazilian, and now he's dating another fairly attractive Brazilian. And then his best friend is a carbon copy of Larissa, and they had dinner this week, and he's still in love with her. So he's got 3 hot women that he's been able to choose from. But Larissa decides, I'm going to get back at him. And she says, I'm going to win the war. She finds the number. I'm not sure how, but she calls Jess and they have a conversation. Jess isn't having it. She defends Colt. She hangs up on Larissa. But you got to believe deep down that Jess is second guessing because of the things that Larissa told her. Do you think she believes anything that Larissa told her about Colt?
So the only reason I think she might believe a little bit of what was going on in her ears is because Crazy doesn't really have a language. It doesn't have a religion. It doesn't have a race. It seems like Crazy knows no bounds, especially with the women that Colt has in his life. And I think that kind of just comes with the territory.
You know, I've always seen guys, I've had some buddies that were trying to get women that were out of their league when I was younger. And if you want to get women like Larissa or that look like Larissa, normally if you're a guy like Colt, you've got to go to another country. You've got to make yourself so attractive. And I believe, and she has said it, that she was married and now she's looking for another guy for a green card. That's all she wants. She wants to stay in the United States and she wants a green card. She doesn't make any qualms about that. But here's the problem. If she tells her blind dates like she did in last week's episode, no guy's going to stick around long enough to find out because you're going to be used and then she's going to leave you. But I can't wait to find out when Colt goes to Brazil with Jess and he's taking his mom. The only thing that would be worse, Cody, is if he took the cat too. That's it. That's the only thing that would make it worse. His mother going and the cat too. Stop it already. Just stop it. And that's our main event.
Grow up. Grow up.
All right, that was our main event. Now it's time to go into one of my personal favorite segments, and that is the Grow Up segment. Now, you could probably put every single couple on every franchise in this segment, but we got to whittle it down to just 2 or 3. And we're starting with Aseula from Samoa. I was blown away, and I mean blown away at his sexist comments, the fact that they go to the doctor to see if he can take his kids to a country that's having a measles outbreak. The doctor says, listen, your kids are too young. They're not supposed to have the measles vaccine yet, but I'm going to give you a prescription. You guys decide. So he gets mad because his wife said, we're not taking our 2 kids to Samoa. So they go on a trip to California, and he just goes off. And the things that he was saying to his wife, could not believe. And then when her mother, his mother-in-law, says, don't talk to my daughter that way, he goes, it's my wife. I can say whatever I want. What does grandma say? Oh, you can. Well, go ahead and say that stuff in front of my husband and see how far you can get. And all I thought about, Cody, was what if somebody talked to my daughter that way in front of me? You best believe they'd get slapped and they'd be picking their butts up off the floor. And I'll say, let's try that again. So I get it. But he is so disrespectful. He's sexist from the word go. And he said her job is easy because she has a wash machine, a dishwasher. He goes, in my country, you got to do it all. Have you ever seen a character that's more sexist than Aseula? And I'm not even giving him a pass. I just think he's that way.
Right, and I think especially now that we're in 2020, the information's out there. There's no excuse to be that ignorant, that so upended by just something so simple as sexism that it's unreal. And there's a reason that it came to a head, and, you know, the producers had to step in at one point with this argument.
Yeah.
And you and I watch a lot of reality TV, and I think that was one of the most heated arguments we've ever seen with a couple. And I mean, we saw it there with him getting on the bus. I don't know if that's him on the bus for their relationship or something like that, but that's definitely him getting on the bus and leaving in this segment because we're done with Aseula.
I am still scratching my head that at least with Deaven, she only made the mistake to have 1 child. Kalani has had 2. She had 2 with this guy. She's an overgrown child. And when he doesn't get his way, it's like he's stamping his foot on the ground going, I want to go to Samoa. I want to go to Samoa. And then he just insults everybody past the point of it being okay, past the point of it being even remotely okay. So they left this week's episode with him getting on the bus, taking off his microphone, and it would not surprise me if he goes back, gets a ticket to Samoa, and he calls it quits. And he leaves Kalani and his kids there because at some point, I just think he's going to say, like Jihoon, I'm done. I'm done. If she doesn't want to support me, then I'm fine with that. So Aseula, good riddance, because we can't have that kind of attitude and make our country better. All right, next up in Grow Up. You know I love me some Armando and Kenny. 57-year-old Kenny, 31-year-old Armando, gay couple, gonna live in Mexico. They're my absolute favorites. They're dealing with a lot of pushback, a lot of negativity, a lot of prejudice. And he finally, in last week's episode, Armando, tells his parents, hadn't talked about him being gay in 3 years. His mother embraces him, hugs him, cries, I love you no matter what, you're my son. His father sits there, looks down, I need some time. I got to wrap my head around it. So then when he finally decides to pack his car and he's moving to another town that they're going to be accepted better, they can't even live in the town he lives in. How bad is that? So he leaves his daughter with his parents. His mother's there, hugging him, kissing him. I love you. You're all you, my son. Guess what, Cody? Dad's nowhere to be found. Dad's not having it. Dad's not agreeing with it. Guess what, Dad? This isn't your call. Guess what, Dad? Your son is screaming for help. Guess what, Dad? Your son just wants to be happy. I'm furious that a dad, and I know he's old school and I know he's in the Latino culture, but to me this is not okay. And I just hope some way, somehow, eventually they can come together, but I don't see it happening.
Me either, Coach, and I really don't have much to add. I love the passion that you have there, and you can really feel that, you know, your heart is tugging for these guys, and to see what they have to deal with their family, especially with things that you've talked about on the show that you've had in your past going on with family. It's just crazy to put yourself in those shoes and just wonder what these people are going through, because, you know, you're a good guy in your heart, I'm a good guy in my heart, and that is just something that we could never imagine doing as far as abandoning someone that, you know, you're supposed to love unconditionally. So I don't have much to add to that, Coach, because I love your passion and I can't agree more.
Well, you do have, and that was really well said. And I can say this, a couple of years ago when we decided, I'm divorced, but me and my wife, or ex-wife, do everything together, and we moved out here for her job. The worst day of my life, it is not close, as a father, was when my kids walked away from me at the airport in Hartford, Connecticut, to fly out here to California, and I didn't know at that point how long it was going to be before I saw them again, because it was always going to be a 3-step move, right? Mm-hmm. So watching Armando have to leave his daughter, who's the sweetest thing that you could ever see, and when she speaks Spanish, how sweet is it? And she's like, I'm sad. I want to go with him. I want to be with my 2 dads. So his 5-year-old daughter, however old, she gets it. She's okay with it. But his 68-year-old dad can't be okay with it? That, to me, says all you need to know. You're taught at a young age. And his daughter is great. And she wants to be with them. And she will eventually. They just have to get settled. But it's sad right now because not having your father, I mean, it's the worst. It's the worst. I can't imagine that. I have an incredible relationship with my dad. And I can't imagine not being able to pick up the phone and call him and have him be okay with whatever I'm doing. So Armando's dad, grow up. All right, our final topic in Grow Up this week. And this is one I knew was coming. I knew it was coming when Ariella decided she wanted to have the baby in Ethiopia with Binyam. And Binyam decides to cut his hair off. He looks completely different. She lands mom in tow again. What's up with these moms going to these foreign countries with their kids? So she has an absolute nervous breakdown. And we have a quote from her coming up and say what. But what did she expect when she got to Ethiopia, a very, very poor country, and a guy who has 4 or 5 jobs, and I call them hobbies, and the worst apartment you could ever have? And when she walked into that apartment and her eyes got big, I knew it wasn't okay. What did you make of what you saw that she saw in that apartment?
Well, Coach, I knew it was going to be bad when Binyam turned to her after she asked about the bathroom and he said, you can peek around the corner. He knew it wasn't going to be good. She peeked around that corner, and what did she find? Everything except a toilet seat. I don't care if you're in Ethiopia. I don't care if you're in Kansas City. I don't care if you're in the middle of Alaska sitting on an ice patch. You better have a damn toilet seat in your house. Grow up.
And we'll leave it right there. Time for the segment of the show where we're watching all these different episodes, and I have to rewind. I go, say what? What did they just say? And we got to go back to Jihoon. And I would never make fun of anybody for how they speak English, because I damn sure would not be able to speak Japanese or Chinese or Korean or whatever. But some of the things that he says are absolutely hilarious. And it was so funny this week, Cody, because the name of the episode was one of his quotes. So when I read the episode and it said, "Don't grumpy stop," I was like, what the hell does that mean? Then you watch the episode and Deaven is hot at him. He just got yelled at by her mother. And he looks at her and goes, "Don't grumpy stop." It was like 3 sentences. "Don't grumpy stop." So while I'm laughing at that, then it fast forwards and he's like sitting by himself. He's ready to break down. He says, quote, "This neighborhood very suck. I want to cry." And I was like, Jihoon, I want to cry for you. This neighborhood does suck. Guess who else sucks? You suck, because you had to drag us through 4 or 5 episodes and we're right back at the same spot that we were 5 weeks ago. Nowhere. You still don't have any money. He admitted, "I'm out of money. I don't have anything, and I don't know what to do." So why'd you lie for 5 weeks? Well, he said, "I wanted her to come back." We all did. So guess what? As a father, you do whatever you have to do to take care of your children, no matter what. And he hasn't done it. But he does make me laugh, some of the things and the way that he says them.
Hey, Jihoon might very suck, but his content doesn't suck at all. So I love talking about him on the podcast. So keep it up, Jihoon. I'm really not positive about what is going to go on in your relationship, but keep the quotes coming, buddy.
I'm begging him to use some of his money if he gets any and fix the lip. I'm tired of the middle thing on the bottom lip. It's driving me bonkers. Fix it. Fix it. All right, number 2 on Say What? Ariella. And she's driven me nuts since the beginning because she's pregnant and she blames everything on the pregnancy hormones and all that. But anybody, and her whole family says this, how come the person that's doing it never sees what everybody else sees? The entire family's like, what in the hell is she doing? First of all, the dude's using her to get back to the United States. Already has a former wife that's American and a child he can't see. He has said in his confessionals, "I miss my son. He doesn't know me. I haven't seen him in 3 or 4 years." Well, that would make me want to do a lot of shady things to get to America. But Ariella lands. She hasn't, showered in 24 hours. Her mom is saying this place sucks. She does like Binyam, though. And she says, "I'm upset. You know I don't handle stress well." Well, what did you think was going to happen when you landed in Ethiopia? Nobody makes any money. There aren't any good jobs. And you've decided, wait for it, not only are you going to have your baby there, you're going to double down and you're going to live there permanently. If you put a lie detector, Cody, on Binyam, I guarantee you he would say, "I want to go to the States. I don't want to stay here." But she's one of those people that loves to travel to exotic countries and doesn't mind until you give her a crappy apartment. But this whole "I don't handle stress well," get over it. What did you make of how she responded?
So she said she doesn't handle stress well, and that's fine, but she also didn't handle Binyam cutting his hair, and they hadn't seen each other in 3 months. So, is FaceTime not a thing? Is Skype not a thing? Why was this new? Why is this something that you're just now learning? There's a lot of things that you shouldn't be okay with, and now you're having a problem when to land in Ethiopia. I don't know about that one.
She was talking out of both sides of her mouth, because first she's like, "You look gorgeous, I like it," and then says to her mother, "I hate it. It's like I'm here with a stranger. Like I don't know who he is." Get over it. Stop it. Suck it up. Say what?
Coach, I'm going to keep it nice and short, just like this segment. One word coming on up.
Let's go.
Up, we got Deaven. So she says, "I don't have anything here, and I don't have anything to go back to." Coach, I'm interested to hear your one word on this.
My one word is naive. After the first trip to Korea, and he had nothing, did nothing, had no money, had no job, just lied to her completely. What did she think was going to change? She was so naive to think that this time, because he said, and when she asked him, by the way, "How much money are you making?" He's like, "I don't know." "You don't know how much money?" "Oh yeah, I'm making $4,000. We need more than that." "Oh, I have a second job." "Really? How much are you making there?" $3,000. "Really? So you're making you went from I don't know to $7,000? Stop it already." And so now he's doubling down on all of that. She is so naive, and I do feel bad for her, because I'll give anybody credit that tries to make it work, that wants to have both parents around the child. I'm all for that. But at some point, You got to cut your losses and say, you know what, I can go back to the States. And she did say, you know what, I don't have anything to go back to, but I don't have anything here. That's going to be an incredibly lost feeling to know that the job you had, it's gone and you can't get it back. And you're in a place that you probably can't get a good paying job because you're an American. And your husband, who does live there, that should be making a living, is a joke. That's got to be an incredibly lost feeling. How do I pay for diapers? How do I buy food? I don't know how that would feel. But you've got to be naive, and she should have seen more. She should have been better. She should have demanded to see paychecks, apartments, all kinds of receipts before she ever got on that plane. My one word for Deaven, naive.
Next up, Jenny. She's really on Sumit's ass about those divorce papers. Coach, one word.
My one word is enough, Cody. Jenny, enough. Every time she gets on the call, every time she brings up the divorce papers. So finally Sumit says, you know what? It's not easy. It's not easy to get divorced here in India. Next week, I think we're going to see exactly how difficult it is because his brother, who's also trying to get a divorce, says he's been trying for, wait for it, 4 years. 4 years to get divorced. It's not like here in the United States where you give the woman all your money and then you get divorced. At least that's what happened to me. But over there, you've got to give the family money. And her family, it was an arranged marriage. Her father said, I spent 20 grand trying to help you guys out. I want my $20,000 back. Man, wouldn't it be amazing if I could say, you know what, I'd like my $400,000 back I gave my ex-wife the last 6 years just because I spent on her. And because. And that's what they do in India. But Jenny, you're 61 years old. He's not the best looking dude. He's shorter than her, but he's somebody. He's breathing. He's alive. He's a human being. He's a man. She should be happy that at her age, she has anybody that wants to marry her. Anybody that wants to spend every night with her. And by the way, if my lady traveled halfway around the world to be with me, you best believe the first night, we're getting after it. Nah, that didn't happen. She fell asleep and then apologized the next morning. He says, it's okay. It's okay. I didn't want any anyway. BS. But Jenny, if you don't get your stuff straight, Sumit's going to walk out the door. He already says, I'm annoyed. So Jenny, my one word, enough.
Well, we're almost to enough of this segment, but we're going to get into Tim. All he talks about is the moment that he cheated on his girlfriend. He even goes as far as to going to see a therapist, and it seems to be all he really wants to bring up. Coach, I know I have one word for this that I want to get in at the end, but what's your one word?
My one word is why. Why would you ever tell in the first place? Why would you admit to it? Why would you make this your storyline on 90 Day Fiance? People hate cheaters. Women are the big-time audience for this franchise. And all he wants to do is, I don't know if she'll ever forgive me. He tells his friends, what did the two women say? I want to slap you for her. His girlfriend, educated, gorgeous, and he told the story that he cheated on her while she was back home in Colombia, right? So then when she comes, he's like, she felt like something was going on. She dug into my social media, and she caught me. What did you put on your social media that would allude to you cheating on your girlfriend? How dumb can you be? And then you admit to it. How dumb can you be? She lives in another country. You can't get through 3 or 4 days without giving away that you cheated on her. Sometimes, especially on this franchise, I believe, Cody, that the producers say you've got to get all the tough stuff out. That if you're going to be on the show, you've got to be honest. And that's what's going to make for great television. Because why in the world would you have a bombshell like her and feel the need to tell her? I don't get it. So now he's going down there, and I don't know if you caught this, Cody, but he's not quitting his job. His job is going to put him on hiatus, and he could come back to it. He's not selling his house. So if it doesn't work out, he can come back to it. He knows he's walking into a firestorm. Why? That's my one word. Why?
My one word, admonishment. He keeps bringing up this cheating as if it's releasing him of this guilt. He doesn't have guilt. He doesn't have remorse. all of this psychotherapy or whatever he's going through has convinced him in his mind that if he owns it, if he keeps telling everybody what happened, it makes it okay. That's absolutely not okay. That's admonishment of your guilt. You need to deal with those feelings. We got real here on the end of one word, but that has been one word.
And a little bonus content, by the way, I like to tie Tim into our good friend David, who's on B90 Strikes Back, who lived in that delusional world with Lana, because you couldn't tell David anything either. Whatever David wanted to do, that's what David was going to do. I feel like Tim is the same way. Now, Tim's girl is real, and she really wants to be with him. They've already been together. That's a huge difference. But next week, we're going to bring B90 Strikes Back here on the show because David's on it. And he says, I wasn't in, what did he say? I wasn't in something land. I was in La La Land. You don't think we're saying, say what next week? 100% we are. Absolutely. We've got a lot to get to. We're done for the week. Always 30 minutes or less. We break down the entire 90-Day Fiance franchises. All 8 shows every single week. Download, subscribe, where you get your favorite podcast. Give us a comment. Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you want to look. Also, a little video on YouTube as well. Tell a friend. We're growing it. That's going to do it for us. We love doing this show. It's our passion project for the kids. I'm the coach. Thanks for listening and watching 90 Day Our Way.